Welcome back, everyone. You are watching the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel, and I am perplexed. Wouldn't be the first time. And of course, as I like to tell all of you, this is how we learn. So today I'm having all of you kind of watch along with me as I attempt to rescue my very first Singer Touch and Sew. This is the model 600E, and everything's been going along. I've been able to get the machine moving, and it's very clean, but I've been going, inspecting, lubricating, checking things, and doing my normal routine. And I go to turn the hand wheel. Right here you can see that the needle bar is in the highest position. So I turn the hand wheel towards me, and it stops. I get about this much movement in the needle bar, and that's it. Now, it's not stiff. It's not like it wants to move and it's just hard to move. It has a definite, it stops as if something's blocking it. So I have been inspecting. I've looked all the way up. I've looked on the top of the machine. I've looked at all the mechanisms here. I've looked at the mechanisms on the side. I do not see any obstructions, and I have looked underneath. I took the machine out of its case because I wanted to look underneath, and I haven't seen anything. So the next place to look is, of course, in the bobbin case and bobbin area. So we're going to take a look at that. I'm going to slide the bobbin plate back, and I'm going to take my lever, which I have restored and woken up, and we're going to take the needle plate out, get that out of our way, just to kind of take a look and inspect and see what is going on with this little machine. This machine is one of those machines, and I've covered machines like this before that are deceiving. They look gorgeous. They seem so beautiful and, have very little use, and why is there something wrong with them? So I've been looking at the manual. I'm going to pull up this little lever, and that will release the bobbin, and the bobbin itself comes out. And of course, I'll talk in a different video about these bobbins. These bobbins were created just for the touch and sew. Now, if you look a little closer, upon closer inspection, you will see something that, well, there is what I believe. I'm pretty sure that this is a thread nest. Now, watch what happens. I'm going to turn it again. And again, honestly, it could be the thread, I suppose, but, it is, whatever's stopping it, it is stopped. I'm going to investigate, see what all I need to take apart here, because I may need to look and see if, when I got the machine, there was a needle in it. The needle was, looked fine. I always replace needles anyway because I don't know how dull they are. But the needle wasn't broken. But that doesn't mean it didn't have a broken needle in its past. So one of the first things I'd like to do is take a look at what I think are threads that are somehow snagged here on this piece. Now, I have not fully investigated the bobbin case. Well, look at that. Now that's sitting down in there, but it wasn't really, didn't seem to be connected to anything outside. It wasn't, leading away. Who knows? All right, fine. And of course, it still does not want to move. And I have really, I'm looking to see what is there something being obstructed, and it's really really curious. Okay, I'll put this back down out of the way for a moment and lift up on this. This, of course, is a bracket. Those of you who know the Singer 400 and 500 series will recognize, because that bracket is common. It's this bracket, what it does is it holds the bobbin case still. The bobbin case, of course, is it should be riding on the race. Now, I wonder if it's not put in properly. because now I may be reading this wrong, guys, but I have to tell you, and I'm looking at this for the first time, just like all of you are. Well, not all of you. Some of you may be masters at knowing this machine. You can teach me something. So notice there's a drop off here from the case down to the race, the rim there, but it seems to be taller here than over here. Now, in my experience, I've always seen bobbin cases typically when they sit, not the bobbin case, excuse me, when the hook sits in a race, it is flat. Because the race is flat. The race is not on an angle, I don't believe. So here goes nothing, right? So I'm going to take the bracket here. And by the way, for those of you who are strangers to these brackets, it's one of Singer's sort of oddball things that they did. I say oddball. It's oddball to me, but I'm not an engineer. So maybe I shouldn't complain so much. But you'll notice that there's a positioning post here, and this, come out of there, little lint piece. This piece, this bracket, is kind of interesting. It's a fairly complex level of bracket here, and part of it has a sort of a springed piece that holds the bobbin case still so that the race can spin. Now, this bracket is positioned around this post. So I'm going to lift up, take my screwdriver here, and see if I can move it. Ah, there we go. It's spring-loaded, right? I'm just going to push it out of the way, just sliding it back a bit. Now, how do I remove this? I think, Now, I should mention to you, the machine looks like it may be, the bed of the machine is slightly tilted because there's a bolt. This machine installs in a cabinet, and you can't just sit it flat like you could a 400. In any event, let's see if I can wiggle it out. Okay, so there we go. All right, so far so good. Now, I'm not really sure if it was in the race properly or not, but okay, it still stops, guys. Look at this. It still doesn't want to move. That is the weirdest thing. So is there something I'm supposed to be adjusting or releasing? I've looked at the manual. The manual has a lot of information. We're going to have to cover that in other videos because this machine is more complex because it does things that prior Singer machines didn't do. And because of that, you get complexity, but okay. All right, now that I've removed these pieces, and by the way, when you're doing something like I'm doing, and I realize I'm looking at this this bobbin case for the first time. Is there anything missing? No, I see a screw there that may have to do with adjusting the tension, and we have this piece here. This little, let me move this out of our way. This piece here is firm, but then when I close this, it sort of gets, well, I don't know. So let's see. So I think we're a little too zoomed in here. All right. So I'm looking at this. I don't see anything out of whack. It doesn't look damaged to my eye. And on this side, there's a very small screw or bolt, and I assume that may have to do with adjusting the tension. So let's see. And I know you're always going to have some buildup. Yeah, there's some, but that's not going to be causing this issue. This lint would not be causing an interruption like this. I just have a hard time imagining lint doing that. So what could it be? What am I looking for? Well, the first thing I'm looking for here is any signs that there might be a needle, a fragment of a needle. Is it caught somewhere? Is it Is it blocking normal movement? Because this should be, as is true of the 400 and 500 series, it should be a rotary style hook. So, you know, oscillating hooks move back and forth, but I don't believe this one does. Let's see. What was this under here? You know, this machine is so clean. I mean, it is really clean, like amazingly clean. There's not even, you know, any real lint to speak of. Now, the prior owner could have, they certainly could have, and I'm sure at some point they did, clean the lint. You know, lint builds up in sewing machines if you use them fairly. You know, it doesn't take that long to build up lint. It depends on what you're sewing, how much you're sewing, the fabric, you know, how much the fabric wants to shed. But I am just mystified by this, you know, and I'm coming, whoa, look at that. Now, that's interesting because I came underneath the rim of the race, and that's, again, I basically just picked up lint, but lint would not cause, now lint certainly can slow down the moving of a machine. In fact, lint, if you let lint build up in this area, it's not good for the machine. It can drag. It causes the machine to not you know, it has to work so much harder. You don't get the same power, but it should move. I don't think I've ever seen lint stop a machine from moving. It may have made the machine cranky to move because it's, you know, it's having to plow through all of this lint trying to do what you're asking it to do. But this lack of movement, you know, it moves freely and then stop. Wow. Well, what could it be? I mean, I don't have a problem cleaning out the lint because I was going to do that anyway. But right now, we're on a fact-finding mission here, folks. And some of you may be for the first time working on a sewing machine, and if not your first time, it might be your first time working on a particular model, and you might think, well, gosh, how am I going to do this? Because I'm not a sewing machine restoration person with a YouTube channel. Well, I am, and you see what I'm doing. I'm struggling and looking, and so, and you know, in the past, I've had viewers make comments to help me figure things out. You know, so if you have an idea what could be causing this, by the way, for those of you who, if you're seeing this video but you haven't seen the other videos that I've posted on this machine, this 600E is one of the early touch and sews, and it has all steel gears. There's no plastic gears underneath because Singer would eventually do that, and that's kind of the end of what I call heirloom machines. There are replacement gears, and that's only because Singer was so darn big. They made so many machines, sold so many, that there's a market for aftermarket plastic gears that you can replace on a Singer touch and sew. Just not this particular model. It doesn't need them. So if you have a touch and sew and you're able to make it run and you're having issues with those plastic gears, by all means, you should look into that. If you like your machine, there's no reason why you can't replace the plastic gears, and they should give you more life. How much, I don't know, but all right. So wow. Well, I'm getting a nice cleaning done here, if nothing else. Again, I've got lint buildup, and I'm no stranger to that, right? If you restore sewing machines, or you just use a sewing machine, you know that lint is a thing, and even for the machines that claimed, oh, you know, it has a lint filter or a lint collector, or whatever, you're still going to be cleaning your machine from dealing with lint, and that's just part of it comes with the territory, and that's fine. But this machine is really curious as to why it is just ornery. And it's, again, I can't point to anything here that suggests the machine was abused. On the contrary, it's just I think it's one of those, like I say, in the vintage car world, we use the term garage queen because it just, basically been babied all its life. But something has happened to this machine, and if it's not the machine, then you know what? It's the owner, or in this case, the restorer. It's me. So I can't I cannot blame the machine yet because it could be something that I'm simply not aware of. And I know many of you have told me in the comments in the past that you've been there, and so yeah, it happens, And would I like to have this machine already restored? Of course I would, because I have someone who wants it. They're very interested in it. It's one of the only machines I have in a case at the moment. And some people really want tables, and some people really want cases. And the person says, "I really, really want a." Let's turn it on. It's they want one in a case, and so I'm not going to offer it to them until I'm confident that the machine is ready. Obviously, so I have looked underneath everything. Nothing appears to be obstructed in any way that I can tell. I really just do not, I really cannot grasp, what it could be. And, if this machine had been massively frozen or just really stuck in an awful way, I'd say, well, maybe something else is stuck, but this machine was stiff when I got it, but not overly so. I've dealt with far worse over the years, and this machine has really with just, I think I just used sewing machine oil on it. I don't think I needed to actually use penetrant oil. So because of that issue, it kind of makes me wonder, well, because when it is turning, it turns quite smoothly, and it feels like a wonderfully engineered Singer sewing machine. But then it just stops, and that makes me think something is not quite right. Either I don't have it set right, or who knows. And I didn't really notice it when I picked the machine up. Because I never plugged it in. I'm glad I didn't, because well. And this moves fine. This I've managed to help out the mechanism that raises the needle plates, but yeah, something is awfully strange about this, and I'm really not sure what that is. It just looks like old oil there or something, and because usually if something is stuck, it prevents you from moving it at all, or tries to fight you. But if it's going to run smoothly at one part of its rotation and then just stop, that tells me it's not a piece that's stuck, as in stiff from old oil. It sounds more like an obstruction. But I just cannot for the life of me figure out where that obstruction is. If any of you have any clue, don't be afraid to make a suggestion. Because if your suggestion does not prove to be the answer, well, it's more than I've got right now. So who am I to criticize, right? Oh, I really want to see this machine come back. And there is so much information, so many people have strong feelings about touch and sews, and I've been doing some research on them. I've heard off and on over the years what people had to say about them. Some people love them, and some people think they are just not to be messed with. And it's part of that is Singer's fault, and part of it is maybe just the fact that, at least in the vintage world, I can't speak about new computerized machines, but in the vintage world, this machine could do more, but you had to really, the instruction book, thankfully, is a large book. It's easy to read. Whether it's easy to interpret, I'm not sure. That is not clear to me. But, and I can't find any evidence that would suggest that this machine was, messed with or altered, or someone tried to come in and do something with it. It looks like it just has sat, and I mean, nary a scratch on it. When I don't see any scratches at all, and not every person who sewed scratched their machine. I don't want to say that, but I mean, it's really nice. Like, I don't even know if they dragged anything across it. It just, yes, it's had lubrication. I think it's had some use. I don't mean to say they bought it new and never used it, but this is not a machine that has a ton of hours on it. I'm just not seeing that. And that's not rust. Well, this is aluminum. So if this were oxidation, it wouldn't be orange colored. It would be white, because aluminum does not rust. Oxidation on aluminum is not the color of the brown orange rust that we associate with iron and steel rusting. So that's just old oil and grease. But something is amiss here. Anybody have an idea as to what that is? I'm hoping that once I hopefully come across it, it's going to be something quite simple. So I'm quite perplexed, everybody, and it wouldn't be the first time. This is, again, it's how you learn. And I just, I'm looking, going to continue to look, look underneath. I don't see anything here. I don't see any needle fragments, because if I had a broken needle in here, should stick out, because I have a view, I have a sight line view here of the moving parts, and my gosh, I really don't see anything that appears out of place, that it doesn't belong there. And again, something is keeping this thing from turning 360 degrees, and I really don't have a clue as to what it is. So, misery loves company. So if you've been in this spot before, put your comments down below. If you have any theories as to what it might be, but it is not plastic gears, thankfully. That's not a problem. But again, this is one of those machines, and you all have seen me highlight them before on the channel. When you get a machine, it's so beautiful. You think, oh, this is going to be a breeze to restore, and it's just going to be, well, not always. Oh, interesting. Well, everybody, I will leave you with that on this lovely sunlit afternoon, and at some point I hope to find the answer to this puzzle, because I'm really curious to learn how to operate this machine, because I need to know how to operate. When I say operate, most of the machine is going to be straightforward for operating. The biggest issue will be with the bobbin, of course, because that's the big deal that the Touch and Sew offered, that the 4 and 500 series did not have, and it was a big deal. And right now we're not going to be able to test that. And I'm looking here. I don't see anything that looks bent. I was looking to see if maybe there was evidence the machine had been dropped, something was warped or bent in a way that's stopping it to move. But if you drop a sewing machine, you're going to see evidence of it. You're going to see smacks in the paint. You're going to see, all these plastic bits would likely have broken. But this machine seems to be a cream puff. And I can't see evidence of where, the steel here is strong. It can be damaged. I once had a Singer featherweight that a friend of mine presented to me and said, can you figure out how to fix this? Someone had dropped it and bent the shaft, the drive shaft, the upper shaft for the where the hand wheel was, and it would sew fine, but the hand wheel would wobble. and I took it all apart, put it back. I said, it's been dropped. I have no way of repairing that. Fortunately, it wasn't worth as much because not many people want to buy a wobbly hand wheel, a machine with a wobbly hand wheel, but it sews those beautiful stitches that the featherweight's known for. So it'll get use, but I just don't see it. I'm not seeing it. There's something I'm missing. See if you can tell me what you think it is. And if you would like, feel free to support this channel. You can go and click on any of the links that say buy me a coffee, and you can buy me 1 or 2 or 3 or how many coffees you like to support my efforts to purchase more of these machines. I got this machine on an auction. I was not able to inspect it. And I'm wanting to say I paid for this one, I must have given $65, $75. You might think, well, that's silly. But I wanted to try my hand at a touch and sew, and I guess the old saying, be careful what you wish for. But she's too pretty not to bring back. So anyway, stay tuned. I'm going to be delving in and doing more research. And like I say, feel free to share your comments, and we will see you next time.